What's going on, everyone? Honda Fit for Adventure here, and I've owned my 2015 Honda Fit from 0 to 100,000 miles, and today I'm going to tell you several things that you should be aware of before purchasing a third generation Honda Fit. NH788P recall. So you want to buy a third generation Honda Fit? The first thing I advise you to do is pick any color but white. The white orchid pearl or Bellanova white paint has been known to chip or flake away over time, exposing the bare metal or primered surface area, which will cause rust prematurely. This may or may not be covered by the warranty or a recall depending on how old your third generation Honda Fit is. Yes, I do own a white pearl Honda Fit, but thankfully I haven't experienced this issue. Hatch issues. The next thing you should be aware of before getting any generation Honda Fit is that the hatch handle and locking mechanism are known to jam up over time. The first and second generation Honda Fit had an access panel located on the inside hatch that you could remove and pull on the hatch cable to open the hatch if it became stuck. The third generation Honda Fit no longer has this access panel, but I did find the trick to opening the hatch if it ever becomes jammed. Press downward on the top of the handle and then hit the unlock button. You'll notice a deeper sounding unlocking noise compared to just unlocking it without pressing down on the handle. That's it. The stuck hatch should now open with ease. This is such a common issue and such an easy fix that is one of my top performing videos on my YouTube channel. I personally have replaced the latch at least twice and it fails rather quickly, so I would just suggest to keep on using that little trick until the latch fails completely and won't open anymore, and then replace the latch altogether. If you're looking at a Honda Fit with a hatch that doesn't open, try that trick out. If the trick doesn't work, then I suggest looking at a different Honda Fit, as there may be something else mechanically wrong with the latch or locking mechanism. Leaks. So if you're still able to get the hatch open by performing that simple little trick, the next thing I want you to inspect is the spare tire area. Once again, all three generation Honda Fits have some type of leak issue in the rear. This is most likely caused by a crack in the seam where the shell of the car meets the roof. This can easily be fixed by applying some new silicone over the seam, but if it's not caught early on, you might have a completely rusted out trunk, or even worse, a rusted out frame. Now the inside of my car has been heavily modified, but I want to show you what to do to inspect the spare tire area. So when you go to look at a Honda Fit, take off the spare tire cover, take out the styrofoam insert, and completely remove the spare tire and check for any signs of rust. Depending on the age and location of the Honda Fit, some yellowing here and there may be expected due to moisture. If anything is rust orange or dark brown, that means the leak issue, if any, hasn't been addressed yet and water has been pooling up for quite some time. The rust may have already worked its way down to the frame of the car, so I would suggest looking at another Honda Fit. You should also be aware that if the trunk looks freshly painted, there already may be some pre-existing rust issues and the seller is trying to cover it up. In case you're wondering, I have window inserts, a 3-gallon water tank, and a 16-gallon fuel cell in my trunk, and it's completely covered by sound deadener. Legroom. If the trunk seems to be in good condition, let's proceed to go for a test drive. The next thing you need to be aware of before purchasing a Honda Fit is that if you're a tall person such as myself and you extend the seat all the way back, you're going to find that your knees are exactly at the same place as the steering wheel. Now they do sell seat extenders that allow you to scoot your front seat 2 inches further back, but they're rather expensive and I haven't tried them yet, so I'm not entirely sure if they're worth it. Now don't get me wrong, the Honda Fit has a lot of rear storage capacity, but not a whole lot of room for us tall drivers up in the front. Seat. The next thing you may or may not notice right away is that the seat for the Honda Fit is terribly uncomfortable. Short or tall, all third generation Honda Fit owners complain about the seat being uncomfortable and experience lower back pain. This is not just my opinion, a lot of Honda Fit owners experience this across the board. Some owners have been known to swap seats out, but I haven't tried this yet, so I couldn't recommend a seat to swap it out too. I am sitting on a blanket. I hate this seat. As soon as I get home, I am swapping the seat over to something else. I don't know what, but I'm going to do it. For driving around town, the seat seems to be okay, but if you have to drive 30 minutes or more on your daily commute, you're going to have a sore back. For me personally, I start to experience the lower back pain around the 2-hour mark, so unless I go on a long distance road trip, my back and forth commute to work isn't so bad. But when I do drive for more than 10 hours a day, I end up sitting on a blanket or slipping a sleeping bag over the front seat entirely. Road noise. Some, but not all owners have some road noise complaints. Just like the seats, the Honda Fit is an economy car and the cheapest one in the Honda lineup, so I wouldn't expect much insulation for noise reduction. Now, I previously covered the floorboards and underneath the headliner, and I must say covering the headliner is a must for a roof rack user. While I think investing in a set of quality tires is much easier than covering your floorboards. I don't have any issues regarding the road noise. Maybe it's because I'm used to driving Hondas, the radio is on, or I usually have the roof rack on my car creating its own noise. VTC Actuator. Now that we're finally ready to start the car and go for a test drive, it's time to tell you the most important thing you need to know before buying a third generation Honda Fit. And that is, you want to hear the car on a cold start. What is a cold start? A cold start is the first start of the day or after the car has been shut off for a while and the engine drops below normal operating temperature. You will know if it's a cold start by a blue indicator light on the dashboard that looks like a thermometer. If you hear a rattle when you start the Honda Fit, walk away. Look for a new one. This is the VTC actuator going bad or failing, and it is about $800 to $1,000 to get it repaired at a shop. It is possible to continue driving with a bad actuator, but this will eventually double the cost of the replacement as it will damage more over time. Ask me how I know. Now, if somebody started the car earlier in the day, or perhaps they were already driving it, it won't make that noise and you won't know if the VTC actuator is actually failing. Conclusion. Other than replacing the VTC actuator at 102,000 miles, my Honda Fit has been relatively maintenance-free. It's been the usual fluid changes, a set of brakes, and eventually the front and rear struts. If you'd like to know how much I've spent on maintaining the car from 0 to 100,000 miles, hit that subscribe button because in my next video, we're going to go over all my maintenance receipts and see how much everything costs to fix.